All right, well, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Debbie, and this is my beautiful daughter. What's your name?
Katie.
My beautiful daughter, Katie. And we are so grateful to have you here.
Yeah, why don't you tell me about starting as early as you can remember, maybe with your pregnancy and the doctors that you had?
Katie was 2.5 months early, and she had a very hard birth. And because of having such a hard birth and her lungs not being developed, she ended up having cerebral palsy. And she's actually considered being severely multiply handicapped. And what that means is she can do nothing for herself. When Katie, the one thing that really comes to mind when Katie was first born, at that time you went to a delivery room, and I'm in the delivery room, and her father went to the nursery with her because her lungs collapsed. She wasn't breathing. They weren't developed. And the doctor came in, and he told me that Katie was not going to live. And he asked me, do you want to tell Katie's father, or do you want me to? And I go, would you please tell him? He might have questions I can't answer. And then he told me because she was so sick and because of her lungs collapsing, that she was going to be airlifted to a university hospital where they have an ICU unit for very, very sick babies. And I remember them bringing her to me before they ever lifted her off. And I got to hold my tiny little girl that only weighed 3 pounds, 7 ounces for 2 minutes, not knowing if I'd ever see her again. And I just kissed her, and then I prayed. And then they took her from me, and they airlifted her off. I got out of the hospital early so I could go up and see her. And at that time, they were letting everyone come see Katie, anyone, aunts, uncles, our neighbors, our friends, because she wasn't to live. And Katie wanted to live. When I got up there and I touched my baby, I knew. And after 72 hours passed, and they realized she was a big fighter, and she was fighting to stay here. She wanted to be here. After that, they only let the parents and the grandparents be with her. And she wanted to be here, even though she was going to go through so many trials and have so much go on with her. She wanted to live. And that meant so much to me. Katie, at the university, she was in what they call the CNY clinic. And it's where they were studying preemie babies. And she saw all kinds of doctors, from neurologists to orthopedics to dentals to just everything. And I remember one time they all pulled me together in a meeting, and they set me down, and I had Katie in my arms, and they told me that Katie would never know who I was, that she would never be able to eat, that she'd be pretty much a vegetable, and they had actually made arrangements for me to put her in an institution at 6 months old. And I looked at these doctors, and I looked at every one of their faces, and I stood up and took my daughter, and I told them, excuse the language, I told them to go to hell. And I walked out of the room with my daughter, and she never went back.
Oh, dear.
She has been my miracle. And she's still my miracle. And even with everything she's gone through, she's had surgeries, she's had several surgeries. And she pretty much almost grew up in a hospital. But you know what? She never, ever once complained. And still to this day, Katie has never once complained. Ever. Except for wanting to sit by Annie. Because she loves Annie. But I have a perfect child. She's perfect. Katie has never complained about not being able to walk or go to parties or do things other people do. She's never once told a lie just to tell a lie. She's never once stolen anything. She's never once drank or smoked or done drugs or ever hurt anyone. All my daughter's ever done is just love people, make things for people, and she loves everyone. Katie also has 2 younger brothers. I waited 5 years before I had another child because I was so afraid, and I waited 5 years, and then I had a son named Joe, Katie's brother Joe, who loves her so much. And then 1.5 years later, I had another son, and his name is Jeff. And my 2 boys, who are now men, are the most awesome, loving, kind, caring men you will ever meet. And a lot of that comes from the love they have for their sister. I'm just blessed. I'm so blessed. And Katie's the reason why we're all the people we are. Because of how she just has taught us so much. She's taught us how important life is.
Obviously, from the story you tell, there was never a moment where you questioned how valuable her life was and that you questioned her worth and her potential.
Never.
Never did.
No, I never questioned it. And even though I was told she wouldn't live, I felt in my heart, yes, she would. I felt in my heart that Katie, she would be with me. She's mine. God gave her to me. And she wanted to be here. And she was a fighter. And still to this day, she's a fighter. She still goes through things,
Sounds like your family became a tight-knit family because of the situation that you have with Katie.
I remember this one time, since you brought that up.
Okay.
Katie was, she was probably about 3 months old. And I was young. I was 20, like I said. And I was having a really bad day. And I was feeling bad about what Katie was going to go through and how kids were going to tease her and how hard things were going to be on her. And just, really thinking what she's going to go through and, why God did you do this, kind of thing, just I don't understand. Yeah, at that point I hadn't, I hadn't. I trusted him and I knew she was going to be mine no matter what. And my mom happened to be there that day when I was having my little pity party. And my mom said something to me that totally just snapped me out of it. She goes, Debbie, who are you feeling sorry for? Are you feeling sorry for Katie or are you feeling sorry for yourself? She goes, your daughter's going to know nothing but love. She's got a family that loves her and will rally around her and protect her. And then when she comes home hurt because someone said something, you're going to be there to wipe the tears and tell her she's special and she's perfect and that, we love her so much. And from that day forth, I stopped having my pity parties. And I really realized, yeah, my baby will always feel love. Always know nothing but love. And it's not just from me. It's from her grandmother, to her aunts, to her brothers, to my daughter-in-laws.
And her doctor?
And from her doctor, who she loves very much. Patience is a virtue. Our family is so close. And we have people say that Katie's family is the closest family you will ever meet. And they are the most loving and caring people you will ever meet. And that they love their sister. And that I love my daughter. And Katie's journey and my journey is still continuing. And it just keeps getting better and better.